tell me about your company, Smarter Dharma. What do you do, and where do you fit in the good carbon citizen supply chain, if one can call it that?
Yeah, I'm glad you said good carbon citizen. So, Smarter Dharma's idea is to see how we can simplify adoption of sustainability. And see, my thesis has been that the technology solutions have been there. Of course, we're having innovations coming in, but fundamentally, it's not a problem of technology solution as much as it's a internalization behavior change problem. We have all steadily made sustainability choices and decision making as an afterthought. Whether it's buying a pair of jeans or buying a new house, it's an afterthought. So our aim is at every level, from an individual citizens to decision makers to leaders, how can we reverse that and make that central to their decision making? That's the thesis. That's what I started Smarter Dharma as. And bringing it down, we chose to consciously work with urban organizations, and over the past 6-7 years, we understood that infrastructure industry has the highest impact. I mean, it's in the top 3 big greenhouse gas emitting industries, but it also has the highest mitigation potential. That excited us, saying, let's work in the real estate space. So today, Smarter Dharma works with top real estate developers, not just top, the next level and the smaller builders, to see how can we help inject sustainability at the design and the core concept stage for building. That's what we do.
Right. So give me an example of how that would play out, let's say, in a new residential construction or commercial construction project that's coming up, or for that matter, if you're retrofitting.
Yeah, and we do both.
Yeah.
In fact, the funny thing is, we started with retrofitting and then got into new, right? Because it's the same story. The more you delay sustainability into a building, the more expensive and difficult it becomes. So we decided, let's get back. And the idea is, at the concept stage, today we say the challenge is the following, right? India has gone ahead and committed COP21, COP26, but it'll trickle down. A builder who's doing a 500 crore project should be told that these are goals you should work towards, which will roll up to contribute to India's INDC, but we don't have. The challenge Indian industry in general has, and not just India, globally as well, is we don't have sustainability goals. Think of what they do, right? A builder will say, over the next 3 years, I want to build 10 million square feet. I want to have 35% growth, financial growth. But they don't have any sustainability goals except the few top ones who are now having. So we start with, now we have a patented algorithm where we can automatically set sustainability goals. We can say, this project can be 30% energy self-sufficient, 80% water self-sufficient, 90% of the waste doesn't have to go to landfill. You can be 40% carbon neutral, right? So we set these goals, and our approach is then, at the concept, if you're able to set goals, then entire design is driven towards achieving that. So that's how we work. That's how, and now we have a data science platform which will help automate these things that architects and the builders can come in and make. The other thing we realize as a problem is, even if you tell them these are the goals and give them a direction, many a times, and we've interviewed hundreds of builders, and the challenge they have is, I don't have access to dependable solutions in material. How do I know this is good? It goes back to a common problem in India, right? You say, I'm eating organic vegetables. People will say, how do you know it's organic? So it's the same problem. So we're sticking our neck out and we're saying, we know these are good products because we are doing life cycle assessment on some of these and publishing them. So that's what we do.
Right. So if you were to take, let's say, energy or waste as 2 examples, so give me a use case on how it would work for a project. In terms of where you intervene, which I'm assuming is at start, and how do you know that you achieved what you set out to achieve?
Yeah, great. So in fact, the good thing is we have some numbers also from some of our clients, right? So at the start, if let's take an example, you have 5-acre land and you're building 500 houses, just taking residential, right? We are able to then tell you that you could be 17% energy self-sufficient. Now that's based on a lot of churning, calculations, which says the city, the weather pattern, the climate information. We are able to then say what is the occupancy, predict the consumption, and then say, now what are the various solutions you can install there? We marry all this together to say, this is the possibility. And once we do that, and that automatically is because in the back end, we've already calculated a bunch of solutions. Now this didn't come out of thin air. It's not like we just one fine day got up to build a platform. We have worked with builders and infrastructure close to 11 million square feet manually. And so we've actually gone there, built, and we have seen, in fact, at times we tied our payment to realizing outcome, right? So we knew this was happening. And so whatever we've learned, now we've put into the platform. So then what happens, the design decisions go based on that. We constantly show the environmental impact and the economic value. The challenge, of course, in the industry is on whom do you pin the cost? At times it's going to cost. Now, builder says, I'm walking out of this place once I hand over the 500 apartment. Buyer says, I'm not building it, he's building it. So that's a challenge we have. But because we are able to showcase constantly, here's the value your customers will get, you could sell it at a higher price or whatever other incentive you want to get.
Right. And to pick up on the same things, what would be the kind of technical intervention that you have, which also, I guess, would make it easier for people to know that this is how you're achieving it?
So, of course, we have a dashboard and a platform which will show them. And I told you that marketplace. So we get bunch of solutions, put it together. See, the problem is some of these solutions are there. How do I stitch it together? And I'll give you an energy related example. Now let's say this 500 houses project has 25,000 square feet rooftop. You need to make a choice now to say some of it will go for solar PV, some of it will go for solar water heating, some of it will go for a rooftop bar or a garden, and maybe you'll have wind energy. One of our clients did that. How do you know what is the best use of your rooftop? How much should be the sizing? And to complicate it further, a city like Bangalore has a law, as a mandate that top 2 floors of every apartment community should have solar water heating. 3% of your common area should be on renewable energy. So you need to marry all this, and then you as a developer might have a conscience saying, I want to be more carbon efficient or I want to be more energy efficient. So if you want to be carbon efficient, I'll recommend solar water heating. If you want to be energy efficient, I'll recommend solar PV. So these many data points. So we marry all this together to tell you what's the best use of your 25,000 square feet. Then and this is in line with your energy goals. So we put all this into the platform.
Right. And in terms of what you're able to bring out by using the computing to process this, how does this compare with, let's say, best case, which may be California or something?
So I wish California was. But in terms of best case, as in policies, I think we are.
So one is policy, the other is what you're able to technically achieve.
Yeah, that's a good question. So the thing we've learned now is it's very geography dependent. For example, a place like California, because you've used California example, the water consumption and energy consumption both are high. Most of America is way higher than per capita we do in India. California is going through 1100 years worst drought right now. And yet, they take shower in drinking water. I lived in California many years of my life, right? And that continues even now, right? So the consumption is still about 1.5 times more than a slightly luxurious house in India. So they're still high. In that sense, most of India is actually very efficient. But the drive they're having there, Las Vegas and Los Angeles are good examples where Los Angeles has become extremely efficient in water management. But that's because policy is driving. At an individual citizen level, the awareness is not as much as in India. Not to sound activist, but I'll tell you the problem, right? You could be Ambani in India and you still are running out of water and a tanker is coming and filling you. You can be a janitor in the US and you don't run out of water. So at an individual citizen level, they don't feel it. The change is at a policy. And the policy-wise, best case scenario is there. But individual action, I must say, India has a better individual action than there. And I can give you numbers to prove all this.
Right. And for your own company, Smarter Dharma, how do you see, what is the evolution? So I'm guessing one is as you collect more data points, you become smarter and therefore are able to feed back into more potential companies, clients, partners. What are the other points of change? I mean, climate itself is changing, and therefore I guess you're running faster on the same treadmill that you were earlier, if you were trying to achieve that objective. The other, I'm assuming, is also the awareness on the part of your customers on what they want to do and how they want to do it. So what are the things that are changing here for the good and maybe not for the good?
You know, it's fascinating in the last, so 2 changes have happened since when we started. First few years, they're always, in the first 5 years, I would say the first question was first to impress upon a potential partner client to say why they should so to understand the impact of climate in general and to their business, and what is their impact towards accelerating climate impact, right? That's the step one. And the step two is then say, why don't you, we can help you. Since late 2017, early 2018, the first hump seems to, we have somehow crossed that. I don't know how, but somehow that has reduced. And now it's the second. In the last 6-7 months though, 2022 has just been fascinating. And from unexpected quarters, I'm hearing people talk. This is all good because people are coming and saying, I want to do. There's ESG is the buzzword, LCA is the word of the quarter, right? These things are suddenly, so that's all the good. There's a lot of action, and I feel very excited that from back in 2016-17 to today we are moving for it. So that's the good. There is a bad also. And so to answer your question about where Smarter Dharma is, we chose real estate as a first use case of sorts to build SD Plus, our platform. Ultimately, we want to address everything. We have a bold goal here. We want to mitigate 1 billion tons of carbon by 2030. And we think we can. It's not us, but as a catalyst, right? With everybody around us. And so that's our vision. And we are accelerating towards that. Technology is going to play the role of acceleration. But the last step there is technology is going to help scale and reach out to a lot. But a key part to ensure we do that 1 billion tons is normalizing with policy. So we know that our data science platform, or we believe that our data science platform is going to eventually empower the leaders and decision makers to help normalize through policy. That's a key part of how we will do. Now coming to the not so good part, see, when it becomes a buzzword, the challenge is everybody wants to latch onto it. And when you latch onto it, not all solutions are as holistic as they should be. I'll sound like an old idealist, but that is true. That is very true. Someone's solution, it's like this, right? Somebody wants to do H&M talking sustainable clothing, but every 4 months coming out with a new design, asking all of us to buy a new t-shirt every 4 months is not going to be sustainable. So it's hey, there's new business opportunity approach, which is not very good, because then we are just taking the same path. And this is just another sector. Like one VC was telling me, over the next 7 years, we know that sustainability is a good sector. That is a very wrong approach. That's what led us here. We can't take the same approach. So that's the scary part.
Right.
And I can talk a lot on that.
Right. Right. No, that's very interesting. And I think it's always useful to bring in a little bit of philosophy into a problem like this. Yeah. So what made you start this, Sriram?
So I grew up where my father used to whack on my head if I walked out of a room where light is on. And back in the day I used to always carry my own bag. That's about all I knew. Nobody knew climate change, nobody knew global warming. I used to work in tech in California, and I was in a non-profit called AID, Association for India's Development, which used to focus a lot on helping social entrepreneurs and organizations in India. And I used to do fundraising, so I used to talk to them a lot, which first shed light on the social impact of climate change. That got me really, passionate, and I really felt I should do something. And I was very active on that. Then two other key changes happened. I went to Presidio Graduate School in San Francisco, where I studied sustainability as a leadership and management program, which made me realize I don't have to be an activist in a non-profit, but I can really make a career, and might not be as lucrative as the tech industry, but I could do that. That was key. I read a couple of books, but that empowered me. My wife was great support. We quit, left California, came back to India. Then I went to Pillar to Post to understand what is the problem in India. I figured that, and this is the other thesis of Smarter Dharma, there is an expert in rainwater, there's an expert in energy, but connecting those, because these are all very interconnected, right? So the solutions are interrelated, and I felt there is no organization trying to address them that way. That led me to start Smarter. I was an accidental entrepreneur.
Right, and that's great to hear, and I'm sure inspiring for others as well. So last question, what do you like to or wish to take away from a gathering like this?
I've been in this role for a few years in these conferences. The best part is, if you cannot expect huge change at the instant, But if everybody takes back 1 or 2 action items to go back and say, I will do, from a Smarter Dharma's point of view, bring some partners on board. But a bigger picture is, has this moved the needle internally? It's not action which will happen tomorrow. It's when you go back and say, you know what, I need to take this seriously for my organization. And maybe in 6 months there'll be action, but seeds can be sown here. This is a great one in the sense, I remember from day one, everybody telling me when I was selected to talk here and all that, you don't have to talk about the problem of climate change. You don't have to impress upon people the importance of climate change. I think that is a maturity we are at. It's EDF, maybe hence that's what it is doing. So I'm hoping that people go back with tangible ideas to not just awareness. We can't afford to have awareness programs anymore. I have this solution I want to take and move ahead. I hope that's what happens.
Right, that's a great start point in itself.
Yeah.
Right. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sriram.
Lovely talking
to you.